The first light of dawn crept over the battlefield, casting pale shadows on the muddy trenches. Fog rolled across the ground, curling around barbed wire and abandoned gear. Smoke drifted from distant fires, and the faint echo of artillery vibrated through the earth. Elijah Carter moved carefully along the trench, rifle in hand, alert to every sound. Every step through the mud was heavy, each breath sharp with cold and tension. Behind him, Private Jonah Miller followed, his eyes wide with unease, the morning silence broken only by the distant boom of cannons. The soldiers lined up along the trench, shoulders stiff, rifles steady. The fog obscured the horizon, making each movement uncertain. Elijah glanced at Jonah, whose hands trembled around his weapon. Around them, men adjusted gear and checked positions, readying themselves for the orders that would soon come. The battlefield seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the first command of the day. Captain Hall strode in front of the line, boots crunching the muddy ground. His eyes scanned the formation, sharp and unforgiving. Soldiers adjusted their rifles one last time, bracing for action. The wind carried the faint scent of smoke and wet earth, and distant artillery rumbled like a low drum, echoing across the foggy battlefield. Elijah inhaled deeply, forcing himself to focus, though his mind raced with unease. From the mist, prisoners emerged, ragged and tired, their uniforms torn and faces bruised. Among them, a familiar figure dragged his feet through the mud. Elijah froze, heart hammering. Samuel Carter stepped forward, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Around them, the soldiers prepared mechanically, unaware of the recognition that passed silently between the two brothers. The fog seemed to hush the battlefield, the distant sounds fading into a dull murmur. The soldiers tightened their grips on their rifles, adjusting their stances and positions. Elijah's hands lingered on his weapon, hesitation written across his face. Jonah shifted nervously beside him, uncertain of what Elijah would do. The wind rustled through the battlefield, carrying distant echoes of boots, metal, and the faint drum of artillery, reminding all that the moment of decision was near. Hal stepped forward, his voice cutting through the fog. He gave the order, sharp and commanding, sending ripples of tension down the line. Soldiers stiffened, rifles raised, preparing to obey the command without question. Elijah's hands trembled slightly as he lifted his weapon, fog swirling around him like a living thing. Every heartbeat seemed to echo across the battlefield. Elijah's eyes stayed locked on Samuel. His mind screamed one thing, his heart another. The weight of duty pressed down on him, but the face of his brother held him frozen in indecision. Around him, soldiers shifted and adjusted, unaware of the inner battle he fought. The fog hung heavy, thickening the air, as if the battlefield itself waited for his choice. With a slow exhale, Elijah lowered his rifle. The world seemed to pause. Soldiers froze, eyes wide with confusion. Captain Hale's shout echoed across the trench, but Elijah stood unmoving. Every sound, the distant artillery, the wind rustling through barbed wire, the soft murmur of soldiers became sharp and clear. Time itself held its breath. Captain Hale's face contorted with anger and disbelief. He strode toward Elijah, demanding explanation. Towering over him, soldiers around him shifted uneasily, their focus torn between orders and the unexpected hesitation of their comrade. Dust and mud rose around them with every step, the battlefield alive with tension. Soldiers gripped Elijah, holding him firm but carefully. Calmness and determination were etched across his face, even as chaos swirled around him. Captain Hale's shouts bounced off the foggy trenches, but Elijah did not waver. Around them, the soldiers' movement slowed, as if waiting for the moment to pass. In a small, quiet home, Anna Carter unfolded the letter that had just arrived. The soft glow of a lamp illuminated her face. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the words, trying to make sense of the news from the front. Outside, The wind whispered through the trees, carrying echoes of a world far removed from the battlefield. The front door creaked as Elijah entered. Weary but alive, Anna approached slowly, her eyes welling with tears. The air was thick with emotion, every step deliberate and careful. No words were needed. The presence of each other was enough. Years passed. The wars ended, but the memories lingered. Older Elijah walked through a quiet park, hands clasped behind his back, approaching a war memorial. Fallen leaves swirled around him, caught in the soft wind. The sunlight fell golden on the stones, each one a story, a life remembered. Young soldiers marched past, saluting the memorial with precision and reverence. Elijah watched silently, nodding with quiet approval. The flutter of flags in the wind and the rustle of leaves made the scene feel alive, yet peaceful, a stark contrast to the battlefields he once knew. A wide shot revealed Elijah standing still among the rows of memorials, flags waving in the gentle wind. The setting sun bathed the scene in golden light. Peace seemed to settle over the place, carrying with it the weight of remembrance and honor.